Well, what, excuse me. Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today on the table in front of us is the second part of a two-part Kershaw thing. 2021 looks to be a good year for Kershaw, and if the knives I've had on so far to review are any indication, they're gonna be. This is the Turismo by Kershaw. This is a D2 blade. It is a steel frame lock. It has a nice deep carry pocket clip, although the screws on this are not flush mounted, so there is a little bit of interference there, but not much. The clip itself is still very nice. Fit and finish on this thing are perfect. As far as I can tell, the grind on the blade is even. The grind on the fuller is even all the way to the ends. It is a nice D2 blade. I really like this knife. And in fact, when I saw it, I thought, wow, I really like the shape of that thing. And then I remembered why. Last year, Kershaw released the NORAD, which is not the same, but similar, only much bigger. This, of course, is also D2. Now, this was probably my favorite Kershaw over the last couple of years. The D2 blade, the large fuller, the way it's designed, it is, well, just a very nice knife. Now, this was about 70 bucks, I think, 65 or $70. Because of that fuller, you can spidey flick it. It was very, very well done. It's just an enjoyable knife. The Turismo here is a little smaller. Well, I mean, you know, it's considerably smaller than the NORAD, but very, very similar handle shape. It has some other changes as well. This is one of their speed safe knives, and much like the bracket that I reviewed a little while ago, this is their new speed safe. Now, I say new speed safe because their old speed safe snapped the blade all the way to the top of the frame, and when you went to release it, you were under pressure all the way from here, and you had to kind of get your thumb up and push it down. Well, they have fixed that. The new speed safe, this knife is without assist to that point, and that means you can easily, really easily use this knife one-handed, which is, to me, fantastic, because that was the one thing that always got in the way of me enjoying knives that were assisted, having to overcome the assist at the top of the lock so you could close the knife one-handed. Now, if you got big old meat hooks like I do, that's not that much of a problem, but for most people, that was kind of a deal breaker, particularly for, you know, their assisted, you know, well, that was a deal breaker. I don't know why I'm stuttering. So their new stuff is better than that, and I really enjoy that. Let's take a look at the Turismo. See what you get. As you can see from it being here on the table, it is not a big knife. I mentioned this in my bracket video. Neither one of the two knives that I got are very big. I don't dislike small knives. I dislike carrying small knives. What that means, again, is that for my own collection and my own tastes, most of my knives are bigger than this. It doesn't mean that I can't appreciate a good small knife. And this, it turns out, in the $50 range for D2, is a good small knife. How small is it? Well, let's take a look. You get 1, 2, and 3/4 inches of cutting on just at about 3 inches of D2 steel. The grip area from behind the swell right here is an even, just about 3 inches, a little shy. You do have a flat spot here. You can come up a little bit, but you're really close to the blade, so I'm going to suggest that you be careful. It is, as I said, a frame lock, and we're locked up. Oh, we're at about 60%. So it's pretty hard. It's pretty locked up. But you know what? There is no wiggle, no rock, no nothing. That thing is really in there. And that's really nice. I dig that. It has a fuller with a hole through it. I don't know if that means you can. Oh, you can. That means you can spidey flick it, made easier by the assist. And again, look at that spot. So you can just close that right up. Because it is assisted, it has a little tiny flipper tab. What am I like to say? There we go. There's a good look at it. I mean, it's just a little nub. And it works every time. The nice thing about assist is that they can do the blade and handle geometry a little differently and know that it's going to be successfully opened every time. It's, look, I really like this thing. It's got a little bit of milling right here by the pivot, right? A little bit. It's just a style thing, but it's nice. It is fully reversible. You can swap the pocket clip from right hand to left hand carry without issue, although you can't do anything about where the lock bar is. That's just the way it goes. It has a nice black pivot. All the hardware is black. It has a plastic or perhaps G10 backspacer. Let's see if we can get that in the light. There you go. Look at that. Look at the shape on that. It's just got an interesting amount of style to it, which I really, really enjoy. This is a fun knife to look at, and it's a fun knife to use. Again, I carry bigger knives, but if you were looking for a reasonably small knife with a great blade shape, this is fantastic for work. It's got more than enough tip to poke into things if you needed to. It's got all belly. It is just a really well-sorted knife. Now, the NORAD, which, as I said, was one of my favorite knives from a year, 2 years ago now from Kershaw. I think last year. Maybe it was 19. Wow. This is a really interesting knife, but they did one thing that makes it, unfortunately, for a $60 or $70 knife, feel cheap. They put this really thin sort of laminate carbon fiber in here. It looks cool, but it's got raised edge. Look, this knife was almost there. It really was. The Turismo is just there. Clean, elegant, simple, well done, perfect. For $50. You know, look, you can get D2 steel from any number of alternate companies for less than that, but, you know, Kershaw's got history. Do I wish it was a little cheaper? Sure. But hey, they've made their decisions. And you know what? In this case, I'm not really going to argue about it. I think for, you know, $50 or so, this is a really nice little knife. It has a little bit of jimping right here at this, on the spine of the blade, right where your thumb would land. Again, this is a 3-finger knife for me, which is nice. The way this is shaped, if you're going to come up and open packages this way, this is really nicely shaped. Everything is chamfered, knocked down. It's not sharp, which is exactly what you want to see. Where it is sharp is on the blade, and it is done very well. This has a very nice edge. I saw somebody laugh the other day. They said, well, you know, reviewers always say it came out of the box sharp. We say that because for a while, some companies weren't managing to do that. So it became a thing. So yeah, this has come out of the box nicely sharp. And in the bit of use that it's gotten from Women Carry Knives and from myself, this edge has stayed. No rolling, no chipping, no nothing. So whatever else Kershaw is doing, they're doing their D2 really well. The overall knife, which I did skip, I do that a lot, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3/4 inches long. It is a small boy. By way of example, here is my small knife comparison tool, the Bug Out, which is considerably larger than the Turismo. And of course, my large knife comparison tool is just going to dwarf it. There is the Bug Out Presidio. Look, this is a small knife. Let me tell you something about that. Man, words are hard today. It's a small knife built very well. It is a 3-fingered knife for me, for sure. But because of the shape of this handle, right? And by the way, everything is milled. There's no edges. It's really nice. When you have a locked-in grip on this thing, it isn't going anywhere. And if you put your thumb back here on the jimping, man, this thing just becomes part of your hand. Now, I think Women Carry Knives mentioned that she had some pokey spots from the clip. I don't, but that's likely because of the size of my hand and because of how big the pads are. It's very comfortable. Locks right in. The closed profile is 1 1/4 inches. Closed length, 1, 2, 3, just shy, 3 7/8. This is a really nice little pocket knife if you like nice little pocket knives. I'm really happy. I want this to be Kershaw. I mean, in a recent channel chat over on Big Red EDC, a group of us got really sidetracked into this conversation about what we would love to see from companies like Gerber and CRKT and Kershaw. And in the end, what it came down to was because they have such history, particularly with knife users, knife collectors, we just want to see them make good knives. And this is one. If this is an indication, now they've still released a bunch of stuff in, 7CR, word salad, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Look, there is a minimum. I will probably not likely review a knife that has got a 7CR or less, blade, but 8CR 13 MOV is a relatively proven steel. It's exactly what it's supposed to be, and it works exactly the way you'd want it to, and exactly the way you'd expect. And that means that I'm fine with their 8CR blades. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Things like this. This is about 40 bucks. Just cannot go wrong for that. A slight step up then is the Turismo here in their D2. About 50 bucks, which is not inexpensive for D2, but this is a particularly well put together knife. I really dig it. Let's go ahead and measure it for weight. Get the specs out of the way. Now, because it is an all-steel frame lock, I'm thinking it's not going to be super light, but let's find out together. So 3.3 ounces for, just about 3 inches of D2. Look, that's right there at that ounce per inch that most people like for carry. It's small, but I've learned, man, have I learned, that a lot of people really like small knives. I mean, it's been the market for the last 2 years. Tiny knives have ruled the roost, and I can't argue with it. There's a market for it. It doesn't work for me, but apparently it works for you guys. And so that's the way this goes. And at 3.3 ounces, it is hard to go wrong. That is 93 grams. This is a great little pocket dropper. It really is. Now, it is not a particularly thick chunk of D2, but that does mean that because of this mostly high flat grind, it does come down to a very nice edge. It's not a razor blade. They could have ground this a little thinner, I think, but like I said, I've used this thing, no rolling, no chipping, no nothing, so I'm not going to complain, and it's held an edge very well. Let's go ahead and get our calipers. Kidding, calipers, my goodness. And let's see, so you're starting with 2.76 millimeters, so under 3 millimeters. Starts thin, ends thin, reasonably. That's weird. Anyway, it cuts very well, so, it's nice. The handle itself, at its thickest little spot back here, is 11 millimeters, or 4.38 inches. Excuse me, 0.438 inches. Wow, watch me go. Like I said, this is a fantastic small knife. Smaller than the bug out, a little heavier than the bug out, but smaller than the bug out. So in the end, what do I think? Well, so far in their 2021 releases, Kershaw is 2 for 2 with me. Now, you will have seen this review, I think, which would have dropped a few days before this one. This is 80 bucks worth of knife. $88, I think, worth of knife. And it's $88 worth of knife well spent. If you want a slightly bigger, if you like a cleaver, there's the bracket. If you want a not cleaver that is also really well made, there's the Turismo here. And I got to tell you, it's been a while since Kershaw had a 2 for 2 hit with me. So there it is. If you're looking for a cool knife from Kershaw, a small cool knife from Kershaw, the Turismo here is probably a good choice for you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask down in the comments. We'll see you next time.